1933 or in 34. I thought it was 1934, but one of the older men said he remembers it, that it was 1933. And I've been on the waterfront, except 2 years I was in the Army during World War II. I was over in Germany, that Battle of the Bulge. I was in the Army 2 years, come back in 1946, and I've been on the waterfront ever since. When I first started, we used hand lines. We didn't have no rod and reels. And we just had, we call them stool chairs, like you had into your house. Didn't have no chairs that was fastened down. And we used hand lines for trolling and for bottom fishing both. And then we got using a man come in with a tackle shop. And some of the people would rent the rod and reels, you know, so much a day from him. And then a year or two, we got our own rod and reels. But it was, when I started, mostly handline fishing. And back then, for it was bluefish and Spanish mackerel and king mackerel. And we never did go no further out to start with than Cape Lookout. Well, I just, my foot slipped off of the bumper rail down there. See, I had one foot over on that rail down below the deck here, and I was going to try to get the gaff in him. Well, when my foot slipped off of that, see, I had my leg out of trying to pull him closer to the boat. Well, I just went straddling him. Well, when you're in a situation, you got to make the best of it. See? And that's what I done. And I mean, I wasn't worried because I knowed that there was Bruce, and I bet you he'll weigh much as me and you put together. Big fella. I knowed he could have got a hold of me and have pulled me in the boat. Yeah. And then Tommy Jernigan, he was my mate, and he was here with the bill of the fish. Oh, but when we got that tail rope around him, we knowed we had him.
And Captain George got out on the side of the boat to try to grab the fish.
He was trying to gaff him is what it was.
The handle fell off the gaff. And he was trying to get the hook in the fish, so he got on the side of the boat and fell on the fish and rode the fish in. And I don't know if that was the same time or not, but did Captain George tell you about the time he booked a party and they chose not to go? It was so rough. And that he and his mate and somebody off the waterfront that just went in their place boated the fish that won the tournament that year. His party chose not to go because it was too rough.
That was in the big Fanny tournament, the Captain Fanny tournament. I had the McDonald people for the whole week, and it was rough. And the last day, when they come down, they asked me, was it going to be as rough as it was yesterday? I said, yeah, it's going to be rougher. And they said, well, we don't want to go. And they went across to the cafe, and Bruce, that was the head man of the McDonald's that had me booked, and he said, we'll bring you a cup of coffee. So I told Tommy, my mate, I said, Tommy, go over and ask Bruce if it'd be all right for me and you to go out to try to catch a marlin. And he went over to the cafe and told him, and Bruce come back. He said, well, all I can tell you, if you're that big a fool, you know I'm going to pay you for the day. You go right ahead. And Captain Leroy Allen was out on his boat. Not the sea hag. It was the sea hag, but it wasn't his last sea hag. And we was the oldest 2 boats out, I believe. And he had one on. And we got ours in at 4 o'clock at the evening, and then we come on in. But we got second place. Dr. Allen's was just a few pounds heavier. But I believe we got, I believe it was $4,000. And Bruce Werner, the McDonald man, he said, well, you and Tommy keep that. I don't want none of it. So we had us a right good day's work.
For a couple of years, we had tournaments around over a weekend, and the guys we'd put up a few bucks, and we'd each go fishing and see who could catch the biggest blue marlin. And finally, Captain Fanny got the nickname, I think, by Bill Slagle, who works for me, and he called her Captain Fanny. So one year I decided I'd name the tournament after her, and I didn't tell her anything about it, but when we made up the entry forms and the rules and stuff, then I had Captain Fanny's Billfish Tournament printed out on the brochures. She was a little bit excited about it, I think.
That was a happy day. Not because I was going out fishing, but because I had a tournament named for me, and I could sit at the docks and root for my boats coming in.
Okay, well, that hearse really was a great thing. It was a 1962 black Cadillac, and I had painted on one side Full Service Marina, and on the other side I had, which is our logo at the marina, it's everything for the fishermen. Anyway, when somebody catch a blue marlin, at the time we didn't have weigh scales at the marina, so we would take the fish in the back of the hearse, haul it over to Morehead and get it weighed on the public scales over there on the waterfront. We hooked up on a blue marlin, and I put it on the radio and told them we had fish on, and I called my son. I said, Matt, get the hearse ready. I said, make me a stretcher, and when we get back, we're going to put that fish in the stretcher, put it in the back of that hearse, and take it down to Cape Fear and get it weighed in.
Jimmy Brickhouse and Tony took the fish in the hearse, and they went through Jacksonville instead of through the base. So as we went through the base gate, we asked the guard on duty how long a hearse had gone through. He said a hearse hadn't come through here, so Bill said, oh my God, the boys have gone with my fish. But we met them further up the road, and we were getting near the time of cutoff to weigh the fish in. So they sent a patrol out to meet us, and we went right on down into the tournament headquarters, and it was a great feeling. The wind was blowing a gale, and it was raining.
Raining hard. It was a real fitting end.
The newspaper said Alfred Hitchcock did not fish the tournament, but he wrote the script. So that was great.
The name come from a book in the earliest, I guess after I come on, it's 1934. I read a book, didn't have electricity there then. And I went to bed with a little lamp, got reading this book. A young guy had this sailing vessel. His people was millionaires, and they got him this, well, he was sailing Pacific. And while he was on this Albatross, come aboard his boat and made friends with him, and he was sailing over in the Pacific. This come and go with it. He'd go off and leave, and he'd come back. And I read that book until 4 o'clock next morning. That's when I finished the book. I got interested into it. I just wouldn't lay it down until I finished it. 4 o'clock in the morning. That's something I never done, would read that long. But I always used to leave some nights till 12, 1 o'clock. And this bird, this Albatross. And I said, well, if I ever build a boat, I'm going to name it the Albatross. And nobody didn't know. I brought the boat home. My mother, nobody knew what the name of the boat was going to be till I brought it home. The man who built it didn't know till they put it overboard. And it's a hatchet-style boat, see. There was 4 boat builders turned me down, wouldn't build it for me down. 2 guys, Hargis and 2 to Morehead. I went to Marshallburg. And the man said, I don't want to build it. I don't want to ruin your lumber. I said, it's my lumber. If you ruin it, it's my mistake, not yours. So he built it for me. And after he got it built, he says, Ernal, you're the first man come here, knew what he wanted. He said, I can see your point now. And that's I started this type of boat, the Albatross there. I was fishing a group, a retired man from New York. One was Mr. Johnson, Johnson baby powder. The old retired men without fishing for sailfish. That's all they wanted was a sailfish. So the first day I pulled the baits away from a marlin, we were using light tackle, small reels. And so the second day I carried my 9/0 with me. And I put it overboard, rigged it up with a mackerel. And first thing I come tomorrow and come in. I hooked him, and nobody wouldn't take much of retarded men. It made me catch the fish. Wouldn't one of them take the rod and reel. So I had to catch a marlin for 475 pounds.
Well, when was the first marlin caught that you remember?
First one caught in '39. Guy from New York come down here and caught the first one. And he's one that gave me my outriggers and helped me get started in the marlin fishing.
Did they use teasers back then?
Yes, they did, but I had one of Zane Gray's teaser they gave me, and first time I used it, I had it in between my baits, and the marlin come in and hit it. So I taken it in, so I didn't use it no more. It's there in my house. That's late 50s. But I don't like teasers.
Well, a lot of the boats don't like teasers either, and some of them have substituted having teasers with regular hooks in them.
Well, that's the only kind I would use.
Yeah. Well, right here, yeah, I'm really enjoying this, and I want to talk to you more about some of the features of this boat. As I understand, it was made in Mecklenburg? Marshallburg.
Marshallburg.
Okay, Marshallburg. It's really kind of neat. I'm going to go down and take a look at it. Of course, when you get a chance to be on something like this, I know that one thing that I particularly like about the old boats is some of the old equipment. This chair right here is probably one of the chairs that was used back in the 60s, I would think. Late 50s. Early 60s, whatnot, and still being used now. Good equipment, any kind of good equipment. The rod and reels, the rods, the hooks and the tackle, and all the things that go along with sport fishing are the same as they are now as they were then. Right here, for the convenience of the charter customers, there's plenty of room back here. Everything is made with simplicity in mind, naturally, because they wanted to protect their customers from the rain and be able to enjoy their trip out, whether it was for marlin fishing or sport fishing for tuna or dolphin. And right here is Ernal's son. And your name?
Ernal Foster.
Ernie. Now, you're named for your dad?
Yes, I'm a junior.
How long have you been fishing?
Started when I was 6 going offshore, so I've been going off for 42 years now. Started working full-time when I was 13, so every season since then.
Well, I remember I've got some home video that you got me from, well, it's actually not home video, it's home movies from up here, and you're in them.
In some of them.
Yeah.
That's some stuff from a long time back. Some of it's kind of interesting.
It was kind of a carefree kind of situation here on the Outer Banks and here on the Hatteras. Did you have to go to school here, or did you go somewhere else?
I went to high school in Buxton. In the first grade through 5th, went to school here in the village, and then they consolidated all the schools on the island, and now we have a K-12 school in Buxton.
Well, I certainly enjoy being on this boat, and thank you very much for letting your dad come along with us for this trip. He hasn't been on this boat for a while, but he seems to be enjoying it pretty well. Are you enjoying yourself?
Good. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. This is great. This is great.
At the beginning, I was with my dad on the Joy III. My dad's trade name was Captain Paul. And then in 1945, after I was in the Coast Guard and the war was over, I started my own business, and my boats' names were the Martha Ellen. I had the Martha Ellen II, and the Martha Ellens. I had the 3 charter boats. Back in the old days, we hardly ever went out of sight of land, and most of the fishing that was done was bottom fishing, and then we fished for bluefish and Spanish mackerel, and occasionally we'd catch a king. but the equipment that we had back in those days was very limited, and the boats didn't venture very far offshore either. In the beginning, there was no such a thing as nylon line or monofilament line. The only lines that we used was either cotton tarred line for hand line or linen line on the reels. And of course, this was not the equipment that we have today. There was no such a thing as fiberglass rods or fiberglass boats or any of these synthetics that we use now. So we have, you know, a much more sophisticated equipment and better equipment today than back in the old days. This is a rod here that was originally Zan Gray's rod. Zan Gray used to fish a lot. This rod is a laminated rod. It's built out of 3 different woods. It is bamboo on the outside, it's rosewood on the inside, and lemon wood on the center core. This rod is extremely stiff. There is no play to it whatsoever. It's just something that is going to hold everything that the fish will put on the tackle, which is, you know, an altogether different principle than today. Today, you have a rod that's flexible, that will fight the fish. The fish can fight the rod, but this was altogether different. It was just a matter of brute strength holding what the fish would put on the tackle. Well, this right here is a picture of the last boat that I operated, which was called the Martha Ellens. It was originally a Navy Air Sea Rescue boat, and we converted it into a sport fishing boat. We did a lot of offshore fishing in this. We really started offshore fishing back after 1945, maybe around 46 and along in those days, and that was when the first offshore fish was brought into Wrightsville Beach. Up to that point, most of the fishing was done, as I mentioned earlier, in close to shore. In 1954, we had a big sailfish run off of Wrightsville Beach. There was 127 sailfish caught in a short period of time, and that was very good because there was very few boats in that day that was equipped or had the know-how in catching sailfish and billfish and marlin. I got a little jump on a lot of the fishermen because fishing in Florida every winter, I got to know the new techniques and the new tackle and the methods that was coming out, which normally come out like in Florida sport fishing than it was up here in North Carolina. The boat I had wasn't really that great a sport fishing boat. It was kind of homemade, but it was a comfortable boat, and it was a roomy boat. We had a big cockpit and all, and was equipped for the bigger fish. This is the largest marlin that I ever caught off of any of my boats. This marlin was 7 foot 5 inches long, was 13 foot 3 inches long. 7 foot 5 inches, 705 pounds was what the fish weighed, and that fish was caught on June the 5th, 1970, by a fellow by the name of Frank Trusty. This fish held the record at Wrightsville Beach up until, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and it was beaten by 15 pounds. There was a 720-pound fish caught, but that fish was only 12 foot some long, so I was a little bit longer than the fish, but the fish was heavier. But probably in the late 40s was when we started going offshore and catching these fish. One of the earlier trips that I had off there, I had a single man from Cincinnati used to come down, a doctor, and fish with me, and he caught 3 blue marlin in one trip by himself, besides several fish that we lost. And back in those days, it wasn't uncommon to go out there and raise 18 or 20 marlin in a day, and of course you jumped a lot of them off, and you didn't catch that many, but there was a lot of fish out there. We had a lot of chances at these fish. So it was really a great time, and it was a great privilege to have pioneered this type of fishing. We fished out of Wrightsville Beach most of the times, but we also made trips up to Morehead. This was a trip up at Morehead I was on with a charter, and we would a lot of times fish up to Morehead, spend the night, and then turn around and come back. Of course, the boats in those days was much slower than the sport fishing boat of today. Normally when we went to the Gulf Stream, we usually left at 8 or 9 o'clock at night and traveled slowly all night, and was out at the Gulf Stream to start fishing 5 o'clock the next morning. And we would fish most of the day, a lot of times anchor up for the night, fish the next day, and then come in on a 48-hour trip. Or on the 24-hour trips, while we'd come on back in and be back in around 8 o'clock the following night. And many times we'd have another party waiting at the dock for us and go right back out. We've made these 5 back-to-back on some occasions, which made long hours, but it was a great thrill, and there was a lot of excitement going on back in those days. When we started bringing in the tropical fish, you know, which is what these were considered, people were very, very excited about it. And then, of course, if they ever seen a big fish like that jumping, you know, it's quite a thrill that you never forget, and you kind of get hooked on it. You want to come back.